Well, it's true that the bank earnings, JP Morgan in particular, came out today, and also Citicorp, and both beat their expectations. But what's happening with the market right now is that we have had a rotation a little bit back into the technical sector and out of some of the cyclicals that we were seeing. But I wouldn't necessarily think that the market isn't doing well. It went up so much, it really looks more like a pause at this point while it digests. But what's interesting about the earnings is as we're going through third quarter earnings, the market's already looking at the fourth quarter earnings and more concerned with the fourth quarter earnings. And that's because there's still really no significant news on vaccines. As you know, Johnson & Johnson had an issue. We have the election coming up, and the market is not sure who to prepare for, a Biden win or a Trump win. And then you also have the issue of COVID and how much will the economy continue to open as cases start to surge again. So that's why I think the market has taken a pause here. The expectations for the third quarter earnings are pretty good, even with 25% of companies not going to be reporting. The companies that are reporting, out of the 69 that were surveyed, half of them, actually 2 to 1, not half, but 2 to 1, are expecting a positive guidance. So the question is really, will that sustain for fourth quarter? Well, I don't know if I would necessarily say that the earnings will carry the market, but they may not hurt the market. And even though the guidance for third quarter is good, and some of the companies are already projecting a good guidance for the fourth quarter, we still have all these unknowns sitting around the market. So yes, profit taking makes sense. In fact, we as a company have been advising our clients and taking profits for our clients with our assets under management. It makes sense. You've had a great lofty run. You had a good run in NASDAQ with Qs not quite getting to new highs, but certainly challenging the old highs, small caps, retail going to new highs, transportation going to new highs. So why not take a profit in an environment of uncertainty? Well, I do think it's too early, and I do think investors have done some rebalancing. This is a topic I've been talking a lot about, their portfolios, to not be as tech heavy and get into some of these cyclicals and some of these value stocks and some of these more inside economic sectors like transportation and retail. But I actually believe that there was another poll that came out that hasn't really been talked about by the media, but it's something I read over the weekend. 56% in a Gallup poll said that they are better off now than they were 4 years ago. And of course, they're talking about financially. Their 401ks are up, their bank accounts and savings are up. As we know, the savings rate has gone up. They're paying less taxes than they were 4 years ago. And that could be a very fickle crowd when it comes down to pulling the lever, write-in votes or what have you. Maybe they'll go there and they'll say, you know what? He may be all the things that he has been accused of, rightfully so, but I'm still better off than I was 4 years ago, and they pull the lever for Trump. And I think that's why you're starting to see a little bit of rotation already back into the tech sector, because that's been the safety zone. That's been the outperformer since Trump was elected. So ultimately on election day, I think there'll be a divide between a moral conscious and a financial consciousness, in that the people who just hate Trump and people who have been undecided because some of the things that have happened over the last 4 years, particularly the biggest one being the rise in racism, anti-Semitism, hate groups, both on the right and the left, will say that he is bad for the country. And then you'll have the people who will vote for him because they will look at their money situation and the job growth that we had before the pandemic hit, and say that Trump, with his tax policies of keeping corporations paying low taxes, the interest rates at zero, the spending on the stimulus, even though it's at an impasse now, what he plans to do going forward, has been good for me. And I think that's why it's really hard to look at the polls with any certainty at this point. And we still have a few weeks left. And, you know, in 2016, 2 days before the election, it looked like Trump was toast, and there you go. He wound up winning. So it'll be interesting. I've read so much about this right now. People, let's say, have one issue that they voted for their whole lives, and that would be anti-abortion issues. And now they're saying, should I have that one issue? Bill Kristol, by the way, who's a very well-known conservative in this country, his 88-year-old mother, who has been a lifelong Republican, never in her life voted for anybody else but a Republican, is not voting for Trump this year because she said, I may be anti-abortion, and she's, got strong Catholic values, but he's done so many other things to hurt mankind and his immoral behavior. That's why I'm voting for him. So you really don't know what people are going to think when they go there. I still actually sort of believe that when push comes to shove, people care about their money more than they care about anything. And that would be a Trump vote as far as I can see.